So today's documentary is entitled Hungry to Learn. It deals with food insecurity. The World Economic Forum states the global food security challenge is straightforward. By 2050, the world must feed 9 billion people. The demand for food will be 60% greater than it is today. The United Nations has set ending hunger, achieving food security, and improved nutrition, and promoting sustainable agriculture as the second of its 17 Sustainable Development Goals for the year 2030. Hungry to Learn, today's documentary addresses hunger on college campuses. It introduces the faces behind an American crisis. College students so trapped to pay tuition that they don't have enough money to eat or a place to live. It focuses not only on the devastating hunger crisis unfolding on American campuses, but what can and should be done about it. Today's discussion leader is Laura Chambers. She was chosen because she fought to create practices on metropolitan community college campuses to address the needs of students who suffer food insecurity. We look forward to a powerful discussion, and now we'll view Hungry to Learn. There was a question about whether or not Metro could set up a book exchange to help lessen the burden on students. So I'm going to send out to everybody right now a link of a current book that the college does have. It's not necessarily a free service, but it does lessen the burden. So let me send that to you. Okay, please welcome Laura Chambers.
Hi, everyone. I'm sure some of you had trouble getting through that movie without your tissue box. There are some really painful and all too familiar moments in the film. So I did want to thank Barbara for showing it and thank her for that warm introduction. I anticipate with this Zoom format that questions will come, but I wrote down a few that I imagine you're thinking. So I'm going to start by talking about what MCC's connection to the work of Dr. Sarah Goldrick-Grabs is. I'm going to talk about ePantry, and I know Marilyn Sims, who runs the pantry, and it so successfully is here. So if there's anything that she needs to correct or add to the conversation, please put that in the chat, Marilyn. And then when we get a moment, I'm going to show all of you how to access the form for ePantry. And if you would like to donate, I'm going to show you how to do that too. So first of all, Sarah Goldrick-Grabs wrote a book called Paying the Price, and it was published in 2016. And I read the book. And as a consequence of my work on the Institute for Cultural Connections, we hosted a book, kind of a book club, and we called it College in Context, and we got a number of speakers. And after that, Kim Armstrong and I went to the 2018 Real College Conference, which is the conference that you saw in the film, okay? So I was there for a lot of those moments, and we came back both invigorated and exhausted because it is emotional to hear those stories. But we got to work, and it's a very long story, but in the end, ePantry was opened in November of 2019. And ePantry turned out to be exactly the type of pantry that we needed for the pandemic. I don't know whose idea it was, honestly, but we couldn't possibly have predicted how effective it was going to be. Very, very fortunate. So what I want to do right now is I'm actually going to share my screen with you, and I want to show you just a little bit more information about ePantry. Barbara, are there any questions so far?
We do have questions, and Marilyn wondered if you could ask the audience to use the reaction buttons to tell us if they know about ePantry also. So
yeah, who knows about it? Okay, I see some thumbs. Okay. I would say a good 40, 50% maybe. That's good.
Excellent.
That's
Excellent.
excellent. Yeah, so you don't, anybody can access ePantry. So let me show you how we get to it. So how we get there, I left everything up on my screen, is you go through My Way, all right? And then up on the left side of My Way, you're gonna see the hamburger button right here, and you're gonna go to Student Services. Oops, sorry. I had a bad click there, sorry. You're gonna go to Student Services, and then you're gonna go to MCC Food Pantry, ePantry, you see that? And then when you click through there, it explains to you how the procedure works and answers your questions. And if you'd like to request, you click through here. Now, what's so fabulous about this is you'll see you get to make choices. And the concept is that, people have food allergies and they have both, religious preferences and personal preferences. And so we wanted to lower food waste. And so that's why this is the way it is. They do ask you for some simple information, which is kept confidential. But since we partner with the Food Bank of the Heartland, they like to keep this information. So you will choose where you'd like to pick up your box, and that would be at the Elkhorn, South Omaha, or Fort Omaha Student Services building. It is, so it's not like a traditional pantry where you walk in and you pick things up off the shelf. You submit this simple form and then the next day you can pick it up. Now, as an FYI, if you needed food today and you didn't fill out the form, you could always walk into Student Services because they do keep boxes on hand. And recently they implemented something that they're calling grab and go, which is very exciting because if you just don't have enough food for class tonight or something, you can go to Student Services at Elkhorn, the Fort, Fremont, South, at the ATC building. You can walk in, they'll give you peanut butter and crackers or tuna crackers, something quick that you can get a little sustenance so that you are your best self through class. So that's essentially our response. Now, there are lots of other ideas that many people have come up with here at campus, and I'm glad somebody made the comment about book exchanges. A lot of instructors currently keep textbooks on reserve at the library. And that is one of the things that we're trying to do to, mitigate the fact that textbooks aren't always affordable. But unfortunately, that's going to be an increased problem at the Fort, which is something that if you're sitting here thinking right now, what can I do? If you're an instructor or if you're an advisor, you can start thinking about how we can put together a place to keep books on reserve at the Fort campus now that our new library will not be doing that for us. Okay, what are some of the questions, Barb?
All right, let me start reading some of these. Okay. Well, some of these are going to be more difficult than others, Laura, but is there some way we can push legislation to lower tuition or freeze cost of tuition at college to make it easier for students to afford food and shelter?
Okay, well, what you've hit at the heart of the problem is policy. And I think that was clear throughout the entire documentary. And this is a policy that's been sort of sliding since the 1980s. We've slid into this paradigm where financial aid assistance doesn't help enough, where it doesn't keep up with inflation, it doesn't cover your costs, it doesn't, tuition really is part of the problem. And that's why some politicians are looking at free community college nationwide. But as Dr. Goldrick-Rab said, living expenses. When you're going to school, you're not working, right? And if you don't have the money for rent and you don't have the money for food, you're just going to struggle one way or the other. So the answer to your question is yes, but it's a very big policy issue. So my recommendation to you is to be politically active in general on both a national and local scale setting, and tell your representatives that you want to see financial aid improve, that you want to see free tuition at community colleges. And, free tuition at community colleges not only benefits us being here, but it also benefits students at four-year institutions. A high percentage of them start off or at least get some credits at community college to mitigate cost, or just, as their launching pad. So it would be part of the greater good. So the answer is yes, but it's not maybe the most refined yes. How's that?
Thank you so much, Laura. So I'm going to be reading some thoughts that people had, and you can comment on those as you desire, Laura. I want to say that someone had suggested, and I know people do this, but just in case we're not thinking about it, have instructors tell their students about ePantry at the beginning of each term and then again at the end. A shout out because an individual indicated that I love that MCC has the ePantry, which I was not aware of until one of my instructors in the spring told the class it was available. So shout out to that instructor. A suggestion that the college put out a list of other pantries available so students have resources available. And we talked about the book swap. Any comments about any of that, Laura?
Yeah. So Marilyn can help us with this, and probably the advisors as well. But I do know that Student Services has a link to exactly the kind of document that that person is describing that lists, community resources. So that does exist, and we can find that for you. And that first comment, a lot of instructors have been talking about this. I put ePantry in my syllabus, and I also put it in Canvas. Every single one of my classes, I have an about this class, instructions for this class, syllabus, and then you click through how to do ePantry. We need to publicize it, and we also need to normalize it. One thing I learned at the conference is that part of what prevents students is not only not knowing that these resources exist, but having stigma and shame surrounding the resources. And so, the more we talk about it, the more students find out they're not alone. And that's really good for everyone's social and psychological health, in addition to being in addition to nutrition. And by the way, I keep distracting myself. I'm wearing my t-shirt, just so you all know. We got those at the conference, and I'm very proud of mine.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we have a question from an advisor. When I academically advise students, we discuss programs and classes as they relate to their career or transfer goals. I am now including wellness questions with students, including getting enough sleep, being treated well at home and college, and having enough food. Almost always, students give a little laugh and say they are fine. I then follow up that if their situation changes, that they can let me know. I wonder how students are feeling about staff and advisors asking wellness questions. Do students feel that we are crossing lines, or do they feel that we care about their whole well-being? That's a great question.
It's a great question. I'm not a student, but the research says they do care. And it shouldn't surprise us that the initial response is going to be reticence. But hearing it and finding out that they're not alone is productive. We have twice now put students through the HOPE survey, which is Dr. Goldrick Rabb's sociological study of community colleges. They did it in the fall of 18, and then they did it again last year. And that process, I've had feedback from students saying, I didn't know you cared or you knew. And that's helpful. I think it's important. There are a number of issues that affect our students, and some of those things we are very aware of about, and we can't do anything about them. And some things we aren't aware of. And so asking is a good thing, I think.
Right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Marilyn wants everybody to know that information is available in the student resource guide. So if you know how to find the student resource guide, you would be able to find these available pantries in town or other resources. And we have a question of some perhaps confusion that the South Omaha campus doesn't have an e-pantry, but I heard you say that you can get e-pantry items from Elkhorn, South, and Fort, the main campus. And then all of these places where we go for classes, such as Sarpy, Fremont, would have also the grab and go bags at the student service.
Yes, that's the way it's supposed to be. You're supposed to be able to go to student services. But you fill out your form. The best practice is to fill out the form first, and then you go and pick it up.
Okay. We have a student indicating that Phi Theta Kappa's college project will be food. I believe that the comment is this will deal with food insecurity. So yay for Phi Theta Kappa. Kudos to MCC for the opportunity to provide a fresh produce pantry each week as well. That's amazing. And another person is shouting out to our advisor who is asking the wellness questions, feeling that is really very positive. So we have some more.
Can I add that we are in a partnership with the Food Bank for the Heartland. And the thing about that partnership is we get the food that we get, right? But you can see we offer a consistent sampling. And the college has a fund through the foundation. And any food that we don't get enough of through the Food Bank for the Heartland in any given week, we buy, all right? So if you're sitting here thinking I'd like to make a donation, that's a very big part of what your donation to the Student Food Insecurity Fund is for. Okay.
That's great. And related to a question that we have coming in about the college doing a non-perishable food drive each term, would it be better in that instance then to donate your non-perishable foods to the Heartland, the Food Bank for the Heartland? Because we're getting it from them. Okay. So everybody hear that. If you want to donate food items, donate to the Food Bank for the Heartland. And Metro is a partner, so we will benefit back from that. But if you would like to donate funds, you can go through the Metro Foundation and donate money, which will be used to buy what we don't get from the Food Bank for the Heartland.
That's great.
Okay. All right. There are obviously people talking about this topic, but is there anything besides food pantries that can actually help? Do we have to wait for the government to do something before a difference is actually made? And if it is all on the government, how do we get the government's attention to this problem if both parties are unwilling to cancel student debt?
My goodness.
That's a big question. Isn't it?
I don't even know where to start there. I mean, it's both things. It's, you do what you can in your little world. So here at MCC, we started with a food pantry. We don't want to stop there. We'd really like to deal a lot more directly with the expensive books. And for any of you who are students or advisors, instructors have been talking about this pretty actively for the last few years. And a lot of areas of the college have either taken a lot of time to create curriculum that they can go textbook free or with very inexpensive textbooks. But then, anything that we can do to access, I think it would be probably useful for us to actually have a textbook fund because there are just simply certain classes where a textbook is just going to be necessary. And the textbook companies keep making them more and more expensive. And I know in the documentary, one of the advisors had suggested that you go to your instructor and she can help you with the book. But the problem is that the textbook companies figured that out years ago, and they stopped giving us free books. They give us electronic copies of books that we can't share. So we're not really in a great position for sharing books anymore. So I have thought for a while that maybe a kind of scholarship fund that's just directed at textbooks might be the next step that we can sort of localize here at Metro.
And we may have some financial aid people listening who already know about some things like that. every time something comes up, I think, oh, I bet Metro has that, right? So I really want to thank those who have shared with me, for example, where that book exchange is available. I'm just looking to see if there's any new questions.
The other thing I would like to see change is the way, well, I honestly don't know what our latest policy is on holds on accounts, but I do know that the research shows that a lot of students end up dropping out of college for very small holds. Holds of $25, holds at $50. And I honestly, if anybody here is with financial aid and can speak to that, that'd be great. But to me, if we had a policy surrounding holds that was a little more open and compassionate, that would be useful as well.
Holds on the financial accounts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because you can't enroll when there's a hold on your account. You
Correct.
can't keep progressing.
All right. So we are coming close to the end here. I would like to share that some people there's some more ideas. We just talked about holds on financial accounts. Mike Rush is asking about a food services program available for students. And so that's something we might want to talk to him about, something that was available previously. And we've got a student saying she did get a scholarship for books. So maybe we'd just need to figure out how to publicize to fund that at a higher level so that there's more money available. Another student indicates that she sees a tab on student self-service that says housing help. So she wants to know how to get more help with that. Laura, if you want to send me your contact information, we'll see if we can find somebody to help you with that. But I still have.
I would like to say, just to kind of, there's some thoughts I'd like to summarize with at least, that food insecurity causes a lot of fallout for students. They talked about, lack of focus and all of that, but it also can cause eating disorders, anxiety disorders. There has so many ripples to it that can be permanent, or at least long lasting. I also want to suggest that a lot of these problems can be tied to diversity and inclusion and immigration, because these problems do hit certain communities harder than others, and communities with immigration challenges can't access financial aid in the same way that other students can. So it's all tied up together. And if you are someone who is politically active and politically advocating for things like immigration or diversity and inclusion, keep this in your wheelhouse. This is part of the issue. School and how school is funded, because the people who over the last 30 and 40 years, diminished financial aid and have made it harder for us to go to college are gatekeeping. And we need college more than ever. So if you're political, these are things to think about.
All right. So, and that was really a nice summary. And I do have another comment to share because it's a tribute to Laura, one of the people who's watching. But before I say that, the same person has suggested to faculty and to students who want to encourage some leadership projects in your class. She wonders, beyond food pantry, could we make food rescue teams as class projects, do some service learning related? But here's the beautiful message. This is an excellent film. I don't have a question, but I want to give a huge shout out to Laura Chambers for her persistence, her passion, and her sheer love of students. She nearly single-handedly made our food pantry happen. She embodied that quote. She didn't accept things she couldn't change. She changed things she couldn't accept. And we want to thank you so much, Laura, for your work that has helped many people. We're going to all promise to get the word out more for those who may not be aware of this, and consider this as an option for our donations in the future. Mm-hmm. To our audience members, again, I appreciate your time. your attention to delve into important topics such as food insecurity. For those of you who encourage others to participate in virtual education, we also say thank you for Metropolitan Community College and to our technical staff that help us get through the little hiccups. Would you please put up the evaluation slide? I know you guys probably have been overwhelmed with evaluation. If you could get that for us, Isaac. There we go. This is the same address that you've had in the chat. We really want your feedback. It's basically surveymonkey.com/r/hungry-to-learn. And then our final slide, which will bring up our next program. This is a part of Hispanic Latino Heritage Month. It's another video and discussion. The title of the video is Landfall. This will speak to us about Hurricane Maria, what happened in Puerto Rico physically, what happened in Puerto Rico politically, and what has been the result economically of that hurricane and how the response came about. This will be next Tuesday evening, October 5th, beginning at 6:15 p.m. CDT. And we're really excited that the associate producer of Landfall, Lael Nimro Pastor, will be our discussion leader. So thank you so much, everyone, for being with us. I'm sorry if we didn't get to your questions, but I'm just so thankful that you were with us today.
Thank you, Barb, for your programming. It's so wonderful.
Okay, you guys.